Test. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to City Council Special Meeting, Wednesday, August 26, 2020. It is 6 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. And roll call. We're missing a council. Did we know he wasn't going to be here? Okay. Councilman Arvidsson, place 4, is absent. Hope he's all right. All else are here. And we do have a quorum. Before we do the pledge, I just want to ask everybody to keep all the folks that live down on the coast in their thoughts. That storm that everybody said was going to be a Category 1 is now a Category 4, and it's still strengthening, and it's going to do some significant damage and destroy probably a lot of property and people's lives. So be thinking about them as we're doing this tonight. Okay, so if you would, please stand and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so a couple things. We don't have a lot of people in here, so I'm not going to explain the social distancing and all that. But for those that are in here, just keep in mind that as long as you can guarantee you're staying 6 feet away from everybody, you don't necessarily have to wear a mask. But if you can't or you have any doubts, please wear a mask. Also, unlike a lot of agendas, we don't have a citizen's comment in the beginning because the only thing on the agenda for the public session is the tax rate public hearing, and anybody that would want to speak would be able to do that during the actual public hearing. So item number 4 is approval of authorizations, and it is about the tax rate. So item A, 2020 tax rate. I'm going to review the tax rate, entertain any questions, and then we'll go into the public hearing before we do any motions. So again, going through, you had in your package, and it's useful to understand what the legislature has changed. And it's funny, if you've been in the system for a while, the change of effective tax rate to no new revenue rate, roll back to voter approval rate, can be a little bit almost irritating. But I have to admit that the new terms actually make more sense. They're more sense in terms of plain English. No new revenue rate being the rate that if you were to say the city would receive absolutely no additional revenue from the year before, that would be the rate that would resolve out, and that would be the no new revenue rate. The voter approval rate is the rate that what used to be the rollback rate. Used to be up to 8%. Now remember it's 3.5%. So if it goes over 3.5%, you have to have the voters approve it. The no new revenue maintenance and operations rate is pretty self-explanatory there. The de minimis, I'm not entirely sure why that it became a necessity, but the de minimis is if you took the no new revenue and added 500,000 to it, which seems it almost seems arbitrary, but that's what the de minimis is. And I tell you that because then I'm going to go through what ours resolve out to be for those numbers or those terms. So the no new revenue rate, as you look at the chart that you were given with a small fine print of all the numbers, and if you would put that one up there, please. The no new revenue rate. Remember, when I talk tax rates tonight, I'm going to talk mostly about the rate. That's the total rate. That, of course, is both maintenance and operations, and debt. The debt is something we don't control. I mean, we control the debt, but we don't control the debt rate. It's whatever resolves out to be to service that debt. And then you'd add that to whatever we come up with for the M&O, and that's our total rate. So the total rate of 313, or excuse me, before I even go any further, for perspective, for the last few years, last year, 321106 was our tax rate. The year before, it was 323146. So it actually dropped just a little bit in 2019, and the reason it dropped is because our debt rate dropped. Again, that's not something we control. It's based on our actual debt and servicing of the debt. So it was 323146. The year before, it was 323146. So 2017 and 18 is 323146, dropped a little bit in 2019 to 321106. That number is important, and you'll hear it again. So the no new revenue rate would end up being 310138. What that's based on, again, is coming up with the prediction of having the exact same revenue as we had last year. Well, anybody up here that's ever been in a business, has a business, or understands anything about business knows that it's pretty impossible to freeze the expenses of a business in reality. And as you know, because you approve the budget, our expenses go up with simple things that we don't have a lot of control over: medical, dental, that kind of thing, as well as paying people what they're worth and continuing to give them cost of living increases and those kind of things. So all absolutely necessary things. So that alone is enough to say that it's ludicrous to say that you could have the same revenue as the year before and be able to sustain. So, but that is what our legislature calls the no new revenue rate, and so it resolves out to 310138. The voter approval rate is if we were to add 3.5% over that revenue for revenue, and it would resolve out to 321292. Now, that number, if you go that number above that number, then you have to do a vote, and you have to do a referendum on it. That used to be the 8%. Remember, they're proud of themselves that they dropped it down to 3.5%. But that's the one that we used to know as the rollback rate. Let me back up and say that the no new revenue rate would actually, if we did the no new revenue rate based on the budget that you approved, that is conservative and very, I think, extremely responsible, we'd come up over $6,600 short than what we had budgeted. We'd have to go back and do an amendment for that if we did that one. If we did the voter approval rate, which would be the 3.5 or more, it would give us $52,000 and change more than what you budgeted. And the de minimis rate would raise it up to 377,708, considerably higher. Of course, that would be a public hearing and all that would be subjected to there, but that would give $488,000 more than what you had budgeted. All that said, what I'm recommending to you, what I recommended to you in our first reading of this, and recommending tonight in the public hearing and for your approval and adoption tonight, is the proposed tax rate of 321106. Again, that should sound familiar because it's exactly what it was last year. That will give us a little bit over $51,000 over what was budgeted. That's a good thing because we actually took out some things out of the budget that we believed we needed, but we were, again, trying to keep it as skinny as possible. So $51,000 isn't really all that much, but yet I think it's important to be able to say that we have exactly the same rate as we had last year. What does that mean to the average person? If your house value stays exactly the same, your tax in the city of Garden Ridge stays exactly the same. Didn't change. If you have the average home, and the average home in Garden Ridge in 2019 was $488,670, and now in 2020 the average home value is $495,757. If you were to enjoy that average increase, your taxes for the year would go up $22.76 because of the increase in your home value. So that recommended rate of 321106, that's the kind of impact it would have on an average home value, or if somebody didn't have their value go up at all. You see down there, in fine print, it actually says that as well. $22.76 for the average home value if you happen to sit right at the average home value. Clearly, if you have less than that, it's going to be less than that, $22.76. So those are the rates. The recommendation that I presented to you last time was to do the 321106. Now, an interesting thing, as we launch into the approval, if you so choose to approve this, is because it wasn't heavy-handed enough to tell us what the names of the terms were and to tell us how much was the maximum, they also told us exactly what we have to say when you do the motion tonight. And what is personally irritating to me is in the motion, if you move for the 321106, you will actually have to say that we're raising the tax rate, which I don't know what language they're using, but in the English language, if you compare 321106 to 321106, there is no increase. But according to their rules, which are law, and we will follow them, you'll see that the verbiage that we gave you, for anybody that would like to do that motion here in a little bit, that's what you're going to have to say. It's wonky, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I think it's actually deceiving, but that's the way they played it, and that's the way we have to play it. So that said, before I go into the public hearing, starting on the right side, any questions or comments on what I talked about with these rates? Sir? No. Ma'am? Nope. No. Sir? Ma'am? Okay. Okay, so barring any questions, what I'm going to do now is go into our public hearing. And the rules for the public hearing, 3 minutes to speak. There's no time limit overall. And people had the option, and we had notified them if somebody couldn't be here because of the public health situation, that they could put in any written comments in, and I'll solicit that at the end. So at 6:12 p.m., I'm opening up the public hearing and ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak. And for the record, everybody that's in the audience is here because it's a meeting, not because they're the public and they would want to speak, from what I can tell. So I don't see anybody that, but just in case our engineers or our police or our public works wants to speak, I'll offer that up. Anyone want to speak? Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, so at 6:12, yes, the same time I opened it up, is the time I'm going to close. Oh, I take that back. Actually, I have to look to our city secretary and say, do we have any written comments?
I have no written comments.
And for the record, we have had no written comments. And so now we bought another few seconds, so now it's at 6:13. So the public hearing is closed at 6:13. This is serious business. I don't mean to make light of it, but the undeniable fact is that we have nobody to speak, and the public hearing was 1 minute long. Okay, now moving on to item 4A3, which is now time to make the approvals and ratifications. The first one is to ratify the property tax increase of $47,265 as reflected in the 2021 budget for the City of Garden Ridge General Fund and Interest and Sinking Fund. So if y'all agree, I need a motion for that.
I move we ratify the property tax increase of $47,265 as reflected in the 2021 budget.
I have a motion for place 3 to ratify the property tax increase of $47,265. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from place 2. Any further discussion or questions? Left side, right side? Okay. Barring any further discussion or questions, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It is unanimous. And now item number 4, this is where we're going to talk about the M&O rate. So I need a approval for the 2020 M&O rate for the City of Garden Ridge of .226559. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve .226559 as the
2020 maintenance and operation rate for the city of Garden Ridge.
I have a motion for place 1 for the M&O rate for 2020. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Second for place 3. Any further discussion or questions? Right side,
No.
left side. Barring any further discussion, questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Next one is for the debt service rate of .094547 for 2020 debt service. Could I get a motion, please?
I move to approve .094547 as the 2020 debt service rate for the city of Garden Ridge.
I have a motion for place 2 for the approval of the debt service rate for 2020. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Place 3 with a second. Any further discussion or questions? Left side, right side. Barring any further discussion or questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Okay, council, this is the one where you actually have to read the specific wording. And this is to take action on the ordinance 228082020 to adopt the total tax rate of 321106, which is coincidentally the tax rate from last year. That's not what your motion will say, but that is exactly what it is. I hope somebody from the legislature is listening or watching this at some point, but that is exactly the situation. So, that said, if you do this motion, I need you to read, if you don't have it, if you didn't have the text verbatim, I can give you one, but by law, you have to read it exactly as it's written. So could I get a motion for
I
this?
move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.321106, comma, which is effectively a 3.415% increase in the tax rate, comma, and that ordinance number 228-082020 is approved to adopt 0.321106 as the 2020 tax rate for the city of Garden Ridge. Period.
I have a motion from place 5 for the property tax rate of 321106, read perfectly, I might add.
Second.
And I have a second from place 3. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, this by also by law is a roll call vote. So I'll start with place 1. Aye. 2.
Aye.
3.
Aye.
4 is absent. And 5.
Aye.
Okay, it is 4 yeses and a absent. It is the tax rate of 321106. The same rate as last year is approved. Thank you very much, council. Okay, so now we'll move on to item number 5, citizens' comments. And again, if the engineers or public works or the police department wants to make any comments, now's the time. You don't have to sign up ahead of time, and you can speak for 2 minutes. Do I have any citizens that want to make any comments? Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, I have none. So now we're in a little bit of a dilemma because we can't do this executive session without our attorney. Our attorney is running late. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and recess us at 6:18, and I'm going to plan an executive session when she gets in here. If at 6:30 she's not in here, we're going to punt. We're gonna reconvene, and we're gonna finish this meeting. Okay, so we'll give her till 6:30, and then because she said she'd be here by 6:30, right? And when was that? That was before we started, right? Right about 6 o'clock. Yeah, it's before that. Okay, so we'll give her till 6:30, and then we'll see how things are going. But so at 6:18, recessed with a planned executive time of 6:30, and we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
Second.
Aye.